Section 12 now continues, and we're now going to do a new position called the Estudio Position, named after the Spanish term estudio, which also means study, just like the word studio. But studio is thumbs next to each other. The estudio, the thumbs are separated. Okay, we're up to section 12 now, and we're approaching a new position called the Estudio Position. But before we do the Estudio Position, let's have a look at the studio position that we've just finished playing, with the thumbs next to each other. So we've got this scale passage, with both thumbs next to each other, with the third finger on the note G. This third finger now is going to be replaced with the thumb. So the thumb is going to play G. And when this happens, we don't have these notes here in between the B, the C and the G. So of course the studio position is going to be shortened because there's no intervening notes between C and G. We go straight to the G with the thumb apart. So we have the scale with the thumbs C to G, 4 notes apart. So here is the studio position doing the C major scale, with the notes coming down to the G, and the G being the third finger. The Estudio position separates the thumbs, so the thumb on the left hand is now on the G, and we have a shortened scale with no notes in between the C and the G. So here is the first group of songs in the studio position. The first song, This Is Very Long. This is very long, and it's very strong. Keep it on the ground, watch it go around. Seesaw, 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 up and down. What's the way to London town? 1 foot up, 1 foot down. That's the way to London town. Tic-tac-toe, tic-tac-toe, my first go. 3 red balls all in a row. Throw 1 up, throw 1 down, throw 1 on the poor man's crown. And the last one, Mary at the cottage door. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, Mary at the cottage door, eating cherries off the plate. 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, Mary at the cottage door. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, Mary at the cottage door, eating cherries off the plate. 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. My brown pony. My brown pony is so fast, keeps on going right on past. My brown pony is so cute, likes to listen to my flute. And the last song, The Barnyard. When the farmer's day is done, in the barnyard everyone, please stand but politely say, thank you for my fruit today. Next group of pieces are all melodies, so you can have a break from Emilio singing. So the first melody in the Estudio position with both thumbs separated by 4 notes from C to G. the second melody. Group 3 now brings in the die that we learned just in the previous section. So, thumbs a fourth apart, still with the occasional two-note die in the right hand. Okay, so that was section 12 with this new position called the Estudio Position. The next section, section 13, now starts to deal more closely at this middle section on the piano, the middle octave. Not so much working it out on the piano because it's quite obvious where the octave strip block in the middle is, but when we start looking at staff notation, then it's quite a complex little area to deal with. So we're on section 13 looking a lot closer at this middle octave. The middle octave actually separates the treble from the bass, and you can see it on your coloured strip where the middle C is, and you've got treble on this side and you've got the bass on the other side. When you look at staff notation, you've got the treble on the top and the bass on the bottom, separating the two staff lines, which really separates the whole keyboard into the right side and the left side. But this is a vertical orientation. Here is the coloured strip shown on the side there. So you have the middle actually in this area in here. The middle C is really in two places. Between the treble and the bass staff lines, there's an extra line right in between, equidistant. So these lines travel from one staff to another continuously. This middle line is not visible. It only becomes visible when you put a note on it, like the middle C on that line, and then it becomes a short ledger line. This middle C is exactly halfway between the two staff lines, but the two staff lines are separated. There's a great space between one and the other. When that happens, middle C gets put into two places. It goes just below the treble, the first line below, or the first line above the bass. So it has two positions. One we call the treble middle C, the other one called the bass middle C. We're used to playing the treble middle C. If you have a look at all the notes that I've written here, which covers basically, we're all the way down to this very low E, and it comes all the way up to a very high A. I've covered all those notes, it's quite a few. We see the left hand goes all the way up to middle C in the bass, and then it crosses to the treble to continue. These are both the same notes, and then from the middle C it goes up to the A. In this diagram, we focus now on the middle octave strip, the yellow one. There's actually 7 notes in this octave, starting on F, F, G, then comes the alphabet A, B, C, D, E, and we already know C, D, E, in the treble in the right hand. We also know how to come down in the studio position down to G. F hasn't been done. So if we look at this note F starting in our middle octave, in the treble staff, the F is actually 3 ledger lines down. So if we had all these notes, of course, I've only got 5 fingers on the left hand to use. I have to use another 2 more fingers to show you all the notes. Here's F, the middle F, G, A, B, C, and then the next 2 will be D and E. Those are the same notes in the bass. Same notes. If we take the bottom 4, and write them just in the bass, we have, on this line here, the 4 left hand bass F, G, A and B. Middle C can be a treble or a bass note. So I've indicated with the stem going up and down to show you that it lives in both staff lines. And D and E I've just written in the treble. So here's the same scale as we did separately here, played with the left hand playing the bottom part and then the right hand playing the top part, with C being either the top or the bottom, like this. So middle C can be a treble note or a bass note. In fact, as we saw on this page, all treble middle notes can be written as bass notes. The example that we're going to be focusing on a lot of will be middle C, but all these other ones also can be written down here. We're now going to look at G, middle G. Here it is with 2 ledger lines. That can be written in the bass. One way of understanding it is to think of these 2 ledger lines being pushed down, so it comes down into the bass. The first line up here is the middle C line, just above the staff line, and the next line down is actually the top bass line. The space just below it is actually that top space in the bass. The middle G in the treble with ledger lines is now the top staff line, the top space. Here it is written exactly the same way with the stems coming down, with these lines now drawn in to show you that gap there. And then that stem comes down to show you how we're going to read it as a middle G with a stem pointing down. It's the same note. So this middle G, which we know in the studio position as being this note, or in the Estudio position as being thumbs apart, is now going to be written in the bass. In the first group of pieces, we're now going to play a harmony note with every single one of these notes of the melody, this middle G. The middle G sounds nice with the C, nice harmony. It also sounds nice with the D and also with the E. In fact, every single note of that scale can be harmonised nicely with that G. We now come to another area of harmony where the right hand plays the melody notes, and each melody note will have another note played with it, being the harmony note. And because it's the same harmony note, we call it a drone harmony. A drone meaning a continuously repeating harmonising sound.